I'm in Bariloche, in the heart of the Lake District in Patagonia. It's so beautiful here! I'm currently at Lake Gutierrez, about to do the hike up to Cascada de los Duendes. And it's a little windy today. There is a lifetime of activities that you can do in this area, but I'm gonna tell you the highlights to help you get started on the planning for your trip, including views like this. I'm gonna tell you about things to do inside the city of Bariloche, just outside the city of Bariloche, and then a little bit further afield. A few things to know about Bariloche first. Bariloche to me feels very much like a ski village. There's a lot of hotels, guest houses, very much that little ski town vibe, but just bigger city. I was actually surprised to find what a big city Bariloche feels like. I mean, it's no Buenos Aires, but it's much bigger than I expected. And I thought it would be a little bit more like a mountain town, kind of what actually San Martín de los Andes is. I thought Bariloche would be like, but it's more of just this tourist center. The majority of the people that you see are tourists, whether they're foreign tourists or domestic tourists. Bariloche is also super hilly. It's like a little mini San Francisco. There's ups and downs everywhere. The town of Bariloche is very Swiss inspired. It feels very European. You can see it in the architecture and all of the chocolate shops. There's one street called Mitre and it's full of ice cream and chocolate shops. You can go in, you can sample the chocolate. If you're a chocolate lover, this is your place. You should definitely download Maps.me, the Patagonia map, to have offline. I'm here in November of 2022, and from what I've seen, there are two main bus stops in the center of Bariloche. One is just across the street from Manouche, and the other is just down the street a little bit right in front of the park where the artisanal fair is. And the good thing about the buses in Bariloche is that you can use the same Sube card that you can in Mendoza and in Buenos Aires. Although most of the rides around here are more expensive than in the city, between 100 to 300 pesos. Apparently the Sube cards are also more difficult to purchase down in Bariloche, so try to bring one from Mendoza or Buenos Aires. Don't expect to buy one in Bariloche. You can recharge it, but not buy it. In Bariloche, there are a ton of buses, but the schedules change slightly if it's in low season or high season. So my main tip for transportation in Bariloche is do not trust what Google Maps says. Ask a local. If you're taking any buses to any of the cities around, the main bus terminal is on the east side of town. You can buy bus tickets there for your bus trips out. However, you can also go to Via Bariloche offices within the city. That's what I did. It's so much more convenient than going all the way to the bus stop. There are a few different walking tours that you can do in the town of Bariloche. I've heard they're really good and teach you a lot about the European, mainly German and Swiss influence on the area. You also have the option to go to a chocolate museum by Havana. Havana is the biggest company of alfajores in Argentina. There's a chocolate museum, but I don't totally recommend it. I think they need to upgrade the tour a little bit. It's only 400 pesos, so if you have nothing else to do, then why not? But the tour is definitely lacking a little bit, and it's only in Spanish. From the cafeteria section though, you can look through the windows and see the factory where they're actually making the chocolate, and that was kind of cool. And actually one thing I kind of liked about the tour is that in the very end they have these statues of different Patagonian animals completely made out of chocolate. It's kind of cheesy, but I actually really loved it. In the center of town by some very Swiss architecture, roof-looking things, you can find the main square with a statue in the center. All around that square you can find information, tourist information, and it's also a gathering place. For example, I was here during one of the World Cup games, and that's where they put up a screen and everyone, it seemed like in the whole town, came out to watch the World Cup game. Just one street above that, there's a big park, and in that park there are two tents, and inside those two tents are artisan markets. So when you walk in, you can see DIY things like knitted scarves or jams or whatever else, jewelry. There's 2 of them, so you have 2 options to check out the artisan fairs. So because Bariloche sits right on the edge of the Nahuel Huapi Lake, I personally think one of the best things to do is just walk along the edge. There's a path that goes the entire distance of the town, and in one part is where you can find the Bariloche sign. Take a picture with the sign that says Bariloche. There's also like a little wharf thing that goes out into the water that you can see as well. So that's nice. And right next to that is a little rock pebble beach. It's not big and it's full of rocks, but it is very cute. So you can just go spend a little time there. I don't know, read a book. I saw some people sunbathing there, so that's an option. Right along the water, you also have the Catholic Church. I'm not really one to care about churches much usually, but this was actually a pretty interesting church. It's called Our Lady of Nahuel Huapi. Nahuel Huapi is the lake that Bariloche sits next to. Inside, the building is made of stone bricks, and then they have beautiful stained glass windows. It's quite modest for a Catholic church, so if you're in the area, why not just stop by and have a quick look inside. Bariloche also has wonderful food options, and there's a restaurant called Al Malo, which sits right on the edge of the water, and they have an indoor patio and an outdoor patio, but the indoor patio is just all walls of glass. So you can have dinner there as the sun goes down, which is what I did on my first night. And it was truly beautiful. And honestly, it wasn't overly expensive or anything. So if you have a chance to have a dinner there, I really recommend it. It is so beautiful. Of course, because we're in Argentina, this is the capital of steak. So you should definitely go to El Boliche de Alberto. It's the best steakhouse in town, and everyone seems to know it because a line forms outside of the restaurant. It opens at 8, but you should get there at 7:30 to get your place in line because first come, first serve. And if you get there early, like we did, you can get a seat by the window. We got there at 7:30 and we were probably the 3rd in line. Once you get in, the chefs come around and take your order so you can ask them any questions about the meat. How do you want it cooked?
Medium rare. Bien.
Then once they take everyone's order, they get started cooking the meat. And then after that, the waiters come and they'll take your drink orders. So not the opposite, like in most places. Another place that seems to come highly recommended because everyone told me about it when I said I was coming to Bariloche is a place called Manouche. They have incredible craft beer, they have good food, and the environment is really nice. When I went, I sat at the bar because I went by myself, and I easily talked to one guy on one side of me and then another guy, and I was just making friends with everyone. And then I saw another friend that I had met in El Bolson there, and so it just seemed to be the social center and everyone was there. Manouche is super easy to find because it's where the bus stop is, so every time you take the bus you'll be staring right at Manouche. So now if you're coming to Bariloche, I'm gonna pass on that same suggestion and go to Manouche. One cafe that I found that I really liked was a place called Belakai Resto Bar. I mean, it's not like they serve anything totally unique. The food was good, the drinks were good, but the atmosphere is super cozy. It's right on the corner and it's not in a super busy part of town. So you can look out the window, people watch, but doesn't feel overly busy. The last restaurant I want to recommend because it's so good is a Chinese restaurant called Cajon Changquan. Argentina has really bad Chinese food, but this Chinese food was so good. It tasted authentic. It's easily the best Chinese food I've had in the entire country. So if you're sick of Argentinian food, this is your place. You can do a very easy hike to La Cascada de los Duendes, the waterfall of the gnomes. Arriving to La Cascada de los Duendes is super easy. Take bus 50 from across the street from Manouche, about 35 minutes. Get off when you see Lago Gutierrez. Walk about 30 minutes down this road, then follow the signs to Cascada de los Duendes. Once you get to the parking lot, turn right at the wooden doorway and go for 10 minutes. And there you go. It's small, but it's very cute. It's perfect for the little gnomes. After you finish at La Cascada de los Duendes, you can keep going this way to see the playa of this lake, Playa Muñoz, or to the mirador, to the lookout point of Lago Gutierrez. And if you want to keep going, you can keep going up all the way to Refugio Frei from here. A little surprise, I just met all these students from La Formosa. They're so cute. Hola, chicos. Right behind me is Lake Gutierrez. This is the lake that you'll see on most half of the way up to Refugio Frei, whether you do it from Villa Catedral or whether you start down here at the bottom where you start the hike to La Cascada de los Duendes. I would say probably one of the most common hikes to do just outside of Bariloche is Refugio Frei. It's super easy to get there. You just take bus 55 from the center, which stops right across the street from Manouche. But the frequency of the bus schedule is maybe a little scarce. So I think the bus comes around every hour, although it probably increases in the high season. I ended up meeting people and taking a taxi up because we waited over an hour. But you can take the bus to the parking lot of Villa Catedral. It's a parking lot of a ski resort. When you're looking at the mountain, just take the path on your left side that goes along the mountain and then just keep following it up all the way to Refugio Frei. It takes about 3 hours to get up from Villa Catedral. Once you reach the peak of Refugio Frei, it is once again beautiful. You can see a lake there. When I was there, it was covered in snow and ice. I don't know what it's like if it's a little bit warmer, but it was amazing. Cheers! Cheers! You have two options to go back down. You can either walk back down the same way you came up, or if there's not a lot of snow, you can go kind of around the lake up and over, and there's another path that will take you around, and it's gonna take longer. It takes about 3 hours that way to get back to Villa Catedral, whereas if you go down the same way, it takes about an hour and a half, 2 hours. Then just take bus 55 back down. If you want, you can also sleep up top in the refugio at Refugio Frei. You just have to book your bed in advance. I will put the link in my blog, so if you're interested in that, check the blog that's linked in the description below so you can get the website to book your housing at Refugio Frei. Well, I've just reached the mirador del Lago Gutierrez. It's about 1 hour above La Cascada de los Duendes. And I just found the kids again. Another option for a pretty easy hike is the hike here to La Stupa de la Iluminación. All I had to do was take bus 50 or 51, get off the bus, and then walk about 35 minutes up, and then here we are. So if you're looking for something pretty easy, quick to do for half a day, less than half a day, this is your place. From up here, you have amazing views of the lake Nahuel Huapi, and you have all of the prayer flags, so it makes for a very good, very nice photo opportunity. Just northwest of Bariloche, there's a 27-kilometer loop called Circuito Chico. You can walk it, bike it, or drive it. I don't really recommend walking it because it is 27 kilometers and you'll just be walking kind of along a main road, and there's tons of little hikes off of the main road that you probably won't get to because you'll be so focused on just getting around the loop. If you want to bike it, there's a company called Cordillera Bike Rentals. They're open from 10 to 6, but you have to have the bike back by 5:30. So I recommend starting as early as possible to take advantage of the full day. To get there, you just have to take bus 20 from the center of town until kilometer 18. The last option is to drive, and it's the one that I recommend. You can hire a private car, you can rent a car, or you can do a tour, and I'll link some tours down in the description below. I got really lucky when I went because I met someone, my friend Kostas from Greece, and he had had rented a car. So a few of us piled in the car together and we did the Circuito Chico together, which gave us so much more freedom to stop wherever we wanted, whenever we wanted. There are a number of stops you can make, including the Xiao Xiao Hotel, which is a 5-star hotel, super famous in the area. If you want, you can go in and have a drink in their little cafeteria, just to say you've been there. Cerro Campanario is another hike that's very easy with great views. It's also really easy to get there. You just have to take bus 20 to the base of Cerro Campanario. Then you have 2 options to go up. You can take the chairlift or you can walk. Walking only takes about 30 minutes. It is steep, but it's pretty quick. Going down, you have the same options, chairlift or hike. I recommend hiking. But the view from the top is amazing. It's 360-degree views of lakes and mountains. It does get a little crowded, but it's incredible. Perfect photo opportunities. There's also a cafe at the very top where you can have a coffee with a view. If you take bus 20 to Xiao Xiao Hotel, you can then walk maybe 15 minutes to the start of the Sendero de los Arrayanes trailhead. And that is an amazing hike. It's a big loop. And from there, you can hike up to the Cerro Xiao Xiao with incredible views of the lakes and the mountains. It really takes your breath away. It's something special. If you like beer, the obligatory stop is Cerveceria Patagonia. It's right on kilometer 24.7, which is why it's in the name of the cerveceria. Cerveceria Patagonia 24.7. They have a restaurant, they have a beer tent, and they have a huge yard. They have a garden where they're growing hops, but they have a huge yard in the back with chairs where you can enjoy your view with amazing views of nature and lakes and mountains and trees. It's all there. Please do yourself a favor, stop there. Colonia Suiza is another day trip option. You get there by taking bus number 10 from the center of Bariloche directly to Colonia Suiza. It's located just south of the Circuito Chico. I actually didn't end up going for a few reasons. One was time, and another is that I just heard it's not that great. So it was kind of at the bottom of my priority list. But if you're looking for something to do, you got that option. Another option for something to do near Bariloche, but not in the town of Bariloche, is take the boat to Isla Victoria. To be honest, it's another thing that I didn't do, but I'm telling you because it was recommended to me, so I want you to have the option. The reason I didn't do it is because it's really expensive, and it doesn't leave from the port in Bariloche. You actually have to go to another port to leave from there. So the price just for the boat is around 2,000 pesos. If you want to ride from Bariloche to the port, it's another 2,300. Then they have different levels if you want to include food. And so kind of just doing the basic of all of that ended up being around 15,000 pesos, and just didn't really want to do that. I wanted to spend my money on other things. Plus there's nature everywhere that's free. About 2 hours south of Bariloche, you have a small, kind of hippie town called El Bolson. You could do it for a day trip if you wanted. They have a market there Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday, but it's Tuesday now and it is totally dead. There's not really a lot going on here. I was here on Sunday and there was a ton more, including music, live music, food trucks. Sunday's the best day to see it. So you have tons of restaurants, breweries, and even hikes. It's possible to do it in one day, but to be honest, I would recommend spending at least 1 or 2 days so you can see the surrounding area. A great hike to do from El Bolson is called El Cajon del Azul. You can get there by taking the Wharton bus, about 30 minutes. Check in town what the schedule is because it changes a lot, so I don't want to tell you certain times. But the Wharton bus will take you to the base where the start of the hike to Cajon del Azul is. The hike up takes about 3 hours, and I believe you can also stay in a refugio up top. There's actually 2 refugios, one after about an hour and a half and one after 3 hours. So whether you decide to hike all the way to the top or just halfway like I did, you can have a delicious beer at the bottom when you get back down. There is an amazing brewery at the bottom called Mystic Fog. The are actually American. They've been living there for the past 30 years, so they speak fluent English and Spanish. And their beer is incredible. So why not enjoy a hazy IPA while you're sitting by the river, you know? About 3.5 hours north of Bariloche, you have a very cute town called San Martín de los Andes.
It's actually my favorite one between there, Bariloche, and El Bolson.
So Anna, what do you think about San Martin?
It's pretty.
Do you like it better than El Bolson?
Yes. Yes.
And better than Bariloche?
100 times better. It's a cute little mountain town with a huge lake. They have food trucks, they have cafes, they have restaurants. The vibe is very chill. I really like spending 2 days there. In between Bariloche and San Martin de los Andes, there's a small little town called Villa Langostura. But in between Villa Langostura and San Martin de los Andes is a whole section of the road called La Ruta de los Siete Lagos, because of the 7 lakes. There's actually more lakes, it seems, but officially there's 7. There are tours that you can do that will stop at each of the 7 lakes, but if you have a chance, I recommend renting a car and driving from Bariloche all the way to San Martin de los Andes. That way you have the freedom to make the stops all the way along the way. To be honest, it's kind of a lot to do in one day, so what I recommend is doing half of it in one day, then just going to San Martin de los Andes, sleeping there 1 or 2 nights, whatever, how much time you want to spend there, and then on the way back down, just stopping at the ones that you missed before. So pretty! It's very, very beautiful and very worth it. And these are just a few of the many things, the lifetime of things that you can do in and around Bariloche. But if you think that the Ruta de los Siete Lagos sounds cool, just click on this video here because I did an entire video about doing the whole route up there to San Martin and back. So click here if that sounds good to you. Why not?